Hello and welcome to Among the Lilies. This is a show for ladies who are tired of pretending and are ready to be real. I'm your host, Cameron Frad, and today I'm going to talk about why I'm embarrassed by my president. And if you're American, you probably are too. And I'm really sorry about that. I normally take myself as someone who is very Actually, you know what? I'm so prideful of being American and proud of the fact that I am American, that when I served with Net Ministries of Canada, I was told if you could tone down the Americanism and your like American pride and stuff a little bit, that would help us with your ministry work here in Canada. So I love being American. I think it's great. I've lived all over our country in so many different states, and it's a wonderful, beautiful, good country. And there's so many reasons why I love being an American. But I have been embarrassed lately, and I think you probably have been too, by Biden. And I know what you're thinking, by what thing that Biden's done? Is it the fact that he belongs in a nursing home or sitting on a porch drinking a beer with his grandkids and not being the president of the United States? Yes, that's one of the things. Like go out with class. But no, it's what happened in Afghanistan. I'm not political. This is not a political podcast. That's not what I do. That's not what I talk about. But I've been having a hard time thinking about anything else. And I've been really upset by it. And I've talked to friends of mine who are military, and their husbands and themselves have spent so much sacrificing. And it's been mainly for things in Afghanistan, right? And I know the way the media is portraying it like this never-ending war. And it's like, well, no, they actually were just keeping peace over there for a long time. So I know that we had to evacuate at some point. I think no one would deny that. I think the way in which it was done was really bad. And I think telling everyone exactly what you're doing is not always the best thing either. Like Matt and I are smart parents, and we parent in a way that we let our children know what they need to know. And there's other times where we don't need to inform them of why we're doing things. We're like, this is what's best, so this is what we're going to do. But him and I are a united front, and we're figuring that out. I feel like that President Biden not only made us all look like fools, he also ignored calls and talked like we have allies, and he wasn't talking to any of them. He was given the opportunity to take over the runway, and I think it was Cabo, and like it was like, what would you like? And it's like, oh no, I think it's best for the Taliban to take over. I'm sorry, those of you who are not old enough to remember 9/11, I remember it. I was in Canada on September 11th. Actually, what's today's date? Oh my goodness, aren't we it's September 9th. So in a few days from now, we remember what happened on September 11th. I was serving with Net Ministries of Canada, and we were actually in the middle of Mass. And we were, I don't know, probably like 100 people in a room, and we're all celebrating Mass. The priest was there. There was myself and probably 4 other Americans. All the rest were Canadian. There was a girl from Singapore. There was a couple of people from other countries, but the vast majority were Canadians. Small handful of us were Americans. And we were in the middle of our training. And I remember at some point someone ran in and said, the U.S. has just been attacked. And that was it. So that was part of our prayer intention. And we're all like, what the heck is going on? Or no, it was New York. It wasn't even the U.S. It was New York is under attack. And my teammate at the time, Annie Devlin, was from New York. So anyhow, we finish Mass, and we're praying, and we're like, what's going on? So they gathered us that were American, and we're like, we're going to go over, we're going to watch it. So the staff let us go over, and we were watching the news just in shock and horror of what was going on. And it's like, how did this happen? Like, how did we let this happen? Like, how in the world? Like, who is so sick in their mind that they want to kill themselves and a bunch of us with them? Terrorists. We do not negotiate with terrorists. So I don't know why not only are we not negotiating with terrorists, we're doing things worse than that. We're trusting them. What? Why would you do this? This is very foolish. I think there's a lot of just frustration and anger. And I think that I don't know who I'm more disappointed in, if it's President Biden or if it's in our media, who I think at first were also shocked, and now they've moved on to other things. And they're talking about other things that are apparently just as bad or the worst. What bothers me the most is we did such a good job We did so great getting out of there. Someone had to do it. Trump wanted to do it. He couldn't do it. But we did it. And look, we're just patting ourselves on the back. That really bothers me. Don't pat yourself on the back when you've royally screwed up. Okay? Don't brag about that. Don't say, well, someone had to do it. We knew that deaths were going to come. No, that's not true. Deaths didn't need to come. If you had thought these things out and had done it in an organized manner, this could have ended up much better. Okay, so I'm just frustrated, and I'm thankful that the whole world's media isn't blind, that it's just my media. I'm saddened that my media is blind by this. But I've talked to friends in Australia, in Canada, in Ireland that are saying, like, in England, what's being reported on the news is really bad. And it makes all of us look bad. And I think that's part of what makes me angry too, right? Like just as when our kids make choices and they do things that are foolish, it makes us as parents look bad. Like, why would your kid do that? It's like, you know what? I'm really sorry. My child should not have done that. And it's almost even worse because it's like the parent's done something bad. Like it's our president that's done something just really foolish. That's like, that makes us all look bad. And it makes us look weak. Like, I don't know. I wasn't the biggest like Trump fan. Like I voted for Trump, yes, because I thought that he was our best bet. But I wasn't like one of the MAGA hat Trump fan sporting people. I don't know, whatever. I wasn't like, I love Trump so much and he's my savior. No, Jesus Christ is my savior. Trump was my president. And I did vote for him to come back into office because I think he was not screwing up as much as many other people. He actually did a decent job with many different things. But I think the world didn't necessarily like him, like looking in, they're like America. And so I think when Biden got in office, the world was like, oh, good, finally, back to normalcy. And then it's like, oh my goodness, what's this crazy old guy saying? And what's he doing? Worse, like what are his actions doing? Like these are costing American lives. This is costing, like, we just gave tons of military equipment to the Taliban. Like, what? Why would we do that? I think that my 6-year-old son would be a much better president. And that saddens me to say that because he's 6, but he gets right from wrong. And he gets like, I don't know, like I don't know. I think he's more capable of making a good decision. But anyhow, I digress. What I also wanted to talk to you about was an encounter that I had yesterday in the Kroger parking lot. So I took my daughter to the dentist, and then we were running into the grocery store just to get a few things. And as we're walking to our car, there's a sweet little old lady who almost gets hit by a car. I don't know if she's sweet. I'm assuming she's sweet. I'm going with the assumption that most old ladies are sweet. She could be a mean old lady. I have no idea. It's an older woman walking her cart across the street, and a 20-something-year-old guy pulls into a spot and he starts yelling, that's right, you effing beep, calling her the B word. And I'll run you over if you're not out of my way, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what in the world's going on? So I'm like unloading my groceries and I'm watching to see if anyone's going to say anything to this guy who's like yelling and cursing in his car. And I wait for us to get most of the groceries in the car. And then I'm like, this is not helpful. He's still yelling and ranting about how he's going to hit anyone that gets in his way. And he's like, you talking to me? And I was like, yes, I'm talking to you. I don't think your attitude is very helpful right now. I think, and he's like, that beep and beep was in my way. And I was like, I'm sorry that there was a lady in your way. Sometimes that happens, but you yelling and cursing about it, like you're your own worst enemy. Your attitude right now is stealing. Like that's the problem. It's your attitude. He's like, I don't need you. I'm like, I didn't say that you did need me. And there's like a car in between us. He's like on the other side. I put my groceries in, shut my lid. I'm ready to walk. I'm walking towards my door just in case he decides to get out and attack me or something. There's a car in between me. So I'm like, I could shut the door and get away. But anyhow, I was like, I didn't say that you did need me. What I'm saying is that your attitude's not helpful right now. Like you're your own worst enemy. I don't have to listen to you. And he starts rolling up his window and I was like, you're right. You don't have to listen to me. And we get in the car and I look at my daughter and she's like, I don't know why you said something. I'm like, you know what? If someone had taught him from the time that he was a small boy to use manners and be polite, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. He wouldn't be yelling and cursing at a little old lady who's just trying to get into the grocery store. Like, we need to teach. I think it's Jordan Peterson who says that as parents, our job is to make sure that our kids don't grow up to be people that people hate and are annoyed by, in the aspect that, like, we need to teach them basic right from wrong and basic manners, right? And so I think there is something to, like, okay, what do I have control? And I know you think there's no connection between these two things. I'm seeing a connection. I'm going to let you know where I'm going with it in a moment. But I'm frustrated in this situation. This guy's really frustrated in the situation that he's currently in. But I think what's more frustrating than him not being able to get into a park, and the lady was on the other side, so I don't even know if he was trying to pull into that parking spot. I don't really know exactly what happened. I picked up from the time he started yelling and cursing. So I don't know if he was frustrated that he couldn't get in the parking spot, but the amount of anger that he had and yelling and screaming and cursing, while most people just pretended to ignore him, everyone in the parking lot could hear him. He was yelling very loudly. And I'm not saying that it was right of me to confront him or to say something to him, but I felt like someone needed to tell him, this is not proper behavior. So just like when we're at church, if a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old starts yelling or jumping up and down in the middle of the church, we're like, hey, just so you know, we're going to sit down and we're praying. And other people are trying to pray right now. So we're going to whisper and we're going to use prayer hands. And you correct them in, like, an age appropriate way, right? So then you don't have a 20-year-old who's, like, melting down, screaming, cursing in the middle of the church, right? So it's like, okay, what do we need to do to get there? So, okay, let's not do that. Like, let's not yell and scream. Like, if he had said, like, what if the guy rolled down his window, excuse me, old lady, if you could please not get in the way of people as they're trying to pull their cars in. She may turn and be like, oh, okay, thanks. Sorry, I just had glaucoma surgery or cataract surgery. I can't see really well right now. I'm going to go pick up my prescription. That's why I'm going in the grocery store. The guy would have been like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. Do you need help? I don't think he would have said that, but maybe he would have said that. Like, when we could try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and try to say, like, okay, here's the situation. Like, how can we handle this in a more mature way? And I feel like there should have been a plan. And I don't know all the details. I have not listened to all the things. But I think that friends of mine that have been over there and working and trying to keep the peace on the ground, talking to them and being like, okay, what do you recommend? What could we have done? I have friends that have a lot of suggestions on this. They're like, you know what? This is how we should have done it. There should have been a whole phase out process. And we should have made sure that we kept control of an air force or of an airfield so we can get planes in and out, to get Americans in and out, and then also to get other foreign allies in and out. Also to get people that have helped us, that have been on the ground, that we know as soon as, terrorists come in, they're just going to execute these people like we're seeing. Like, this is, okay, let's get those people out. Let's have some type of control and order. And it's like, okay, we can have less people on the ground, but, like, let's have a whole plan, right? Let's have a whole strategy. Let's build it. Let's not tell the bad guys the plan. And let's implement it, right? And I think sometimes we have to take a step back to figure that out. And I don't know what's best. I've never been over there. I am not one of our brave military soldiers, and I have so much respect for our military and men and women in uniform, especially those that have served over there. And I think that my heart just goes out for them and the sacrifices they've made, and not understanding this and not understanding what's going on. And I hope and pray that we will figure this out. And we will find a way to bring the people that are stuck over their home. I know that different people are doing things to get those people back, and I think that's great. I sometimes think that we don't think that we can do anything. And in this situation, I probably think that. I don't know what I can do to make this better. I think my one little encounter with this guy in the parking lot is maybe going to make it better. Like, I was telling Matt about what happened, and he's like, isn't it interesting that he cursed so many times prior to interacting with you, like cursing just in general, and then at the little old lady, yet he didn't curse at you. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. There was probably at least 7 F-bombs and then other curse words that were yelled in frustration, and he was just sitting in his car. But when he encountered me and talked to me, like there was no, you're a beep and beep. It was a, I don't need you. And then it was like a rolling up the window. Like the final thing was like, I don't need to listen to you. And it's like, okay, you're right. You don't need to listen to me. And that's okay. But I wish someone could have gone back in that guy's life probably 15 years ago when he was 5 and said, like, listen, little Timmy, I'm so sorry that you're upset and angry. Yelling and screaming right now, it's not helpful. Sometimes you don't get your way. So it's the same like at the grocery store, right? When you're at the checkout and your kid asked for that candy bar that's right there. They purposely put it there and you say no. You're taking a risk. They may throw a fit. That's okay. I rather encounter my child throwing a fit in the checkout aisle than them turning into an adult that's going to throw a fit massively on a much grander scale and not have any consequences. And it's like, what you're doing is not okay. I remember one time I saw someone that did that. They were like telling their child no. And someone said they should just, I overheard someone else say, it was a mom with a kid in the cart, probably a 2-year-old, maybe a 3-year-old, that started melting down because the mom said no to a candy bar. And someone else in the line behind me is like, oh my goodness, that mom, they should just give him the candy bar. And so I chose to affirm the mom in front of me. And I was like, hey, just so you know, I know that it's really hard to say no. I think you're making the right choice. I think it's really good that you said no. And the little kid that's like throwing a fit looks at me and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I know it's really sad because you really want that candy bar right now, but your mom's making the right choice because you're going to be a better kid in life. You're going to be a much better person because she told you no now. And I just smiled and the kid was like, and then I started playing peekaboo or making funny faces or whatever. And I didn't say anything to the people behind me because I didn't really need to, but it's like, I think we live in a culture and a time where we think the worst thing ever is being offended. Like, oh, that person offended me. Or the worst thing is if this person looks at me a certain way or says my name wrong or uses my wrong pronoun or whatever. Like, oh, me being offended is the greatest, I don't know, the most horrible thing that's ever going to happen. And it's like sometimes you get offended and that's okay. And sometimes I get offended and I get angry and I don't handle things correctly. But I think it's also a time for me to take a deep breath and look. There's comments. I don't even know what's going on. Sorry, I'm not reading them. So I have a hard time reading and talking. So I'll look at it and comment at the end. Okay. Sorry for those of you that are writing. I lost my track on what I was saying. See, this is why I don't do it. Matt's really good at it. I can't do it as well as him. So sometimes we take the risk of in the moment, like making someone unhappy or being offended. And it's like and I think that people assume, and I think new parents can maybe relate to this. I remember when we had Liam, when we had our first son, and my son was colicky. We brought him home. He was crying and screaming. And Matt said, he's trying to ruin our lives. And I was like, no, he's not. Oh, I see why you're getting so angry. I see why. And it was hard. Like he would scream nonstop from like 4 or 5 p.m. to like 3 or 4 a.m. And it was exhausting. And, he was very colicky and we just didn't know what to do and we didn't get the right help, I guess. But days that I got to that point where I was like, oh my goodness, he's trying to ruin me and he hates me and he wants Matt and I to never ever have a moment of peace ever again, I would definitely get way more angry at him than days that I'm like, he's just a crying baby. He's upset. I fed him. He has a dry diaper. I'm going to hold him and rock him. He probably has a little hard, and his belly was hard a lot. Like hindsight, he probably had GI issues that maybe if we were in the States, they would have noticed that and given him medicine or something. But in Ireland, they told us to use gripe water and we tried it. We went through, gripe water. We kept them in business. We went through like a bottle a day. But yeah, I'd squeeze his belly, bounce up and down. And in my head, when I was like, okay, he's a baby in pain or upset, but I've saw to all of his basic needs. He's going to be okay. I was okay and I can make it through the night. But anytime that I went to, he hates me and he's doing this to ruin my life, it was so much harder to keep my head on straight. Right. And I think that this is where I don't know where to go with the whole, what's going on right now in our country with Afghanistan is because I think certain countries would say, and I think certain people even would be like, Our leaders know what they're doing. We need to trust them and they'll handle this. But I think we've seen, at first, maybe we thought like it was a united front, but now we're like, oh no, people are saying that it should have been handled differently. Or we've heard this video where this audio footage where he's saying, make sure that you say that everything's going great there, And so it's like, okay, are we being lied to? Like what's going on? Like someone needs to look into this. Someone needs to figure this out, and there should be consequences, because if I have consequences for what I do, then obviously our president should have consequences for what he does, as does my 6-year-old. When he makes bad choices, there are consequences. Even my 9-year-old last night, she chose to run around in the yard without shoes on, and there was a consequence for that. She got thorns in her foot. I didn't want her to get thorns in her foot. Like if I could have spared her the pain of it, I would have, but it's a natural consequence when you're running where there was big rose bushes that maybe you'll get thorns in your feet. Or, it's the same if you're sleeping in a tent and you don't go through the added steps of hanging up a tarp. It's like you may get wet in the middle of the night. Like there's natural consequences. And then there's also things that it's like, okay, like you've made a bad choice. There's going to be a bad consequence, unfortunately. Or when you make good choices, there's good consequences, right? Like you guys were great today. Like you were really well behaved, or you did a great job eating all your dinner. Here's dessert, like whatever it is. Like this happens. We know this when we're little kids. I think sometimes we forget about it as adults, but it's like, okay, this is still true as adults, but it's bigger or worse consequences, right? Like if you go to your work and decide not to do your job. Or I think a lot of us, when we went home and worked with the beginning of the lockdowns with COVID, I think a lot of companies realized like, look at this. Our employees are at home, but they're still working. They're actually working better and they're in their pajamas. So a lot of businesses have allowed employees to stay home, or employees that aren't doing their job. It's like, you know what? We don't need that guy. We don't need that girl. They weren't very helpful. This one person works triple hard as those two. So you know what? Let's get rid of those two and give this one a bit of a raise. And they can keep doing those other people's jobs now that we're aware that that's happening, right? And I don't know. So I would love you to let me know what we need to do to make it so that we are proud to be American, or at least we know we're free. And I will gladly, no, I'm not going to bust into a song because I can't really sing, sorry. But I am proud to be American, and I am proud that I live in the country that I live in. I don't want to lose it. I'm getting nervous. Because I'm seeing things and hearing things that I'm like, this is not my country. Like, this is not the way I was raised. Like, we were very much like, our country is good. And if you want to be someone, you can pick yourself up by your bootstraps and be that person. Like, if you want a better paying job, work harder. I remember getting frustrated when I was in high school. I wasn't getting enough playing time for soccer. And my dad's like, you know what you need to do? I'm like, you need to talk to the coach and explain that I'm just as good as those girls that are getting more playing time, and he needs to let me play. And my dad was like, oh, yeah, is that what you think I should do? That's not going to happen. Do you know what you need to do, Cameron? If you want more playing time, you need to work harder. Show the coach at practice that you're running harder, you're running faster, and you're doing that much more. And then you deserve the playing time. And I did it. And I worked really hard to do it. I still didn't get the playing time. I was so frustrated. But it was like a seniority thing. And it's like, oh, these people have been here since the beginning. And that's why I switched from soccer to wrestling, because I was like, I'm going to get a lot more play time over here, because as long as there's someone else in my weight class, I'm going to wrestle. And if I worked really hard that week and I trained really hard, I'd win matches. And that was really fun. And matches that I did poorly in, I wasn't watching what I was eating. I was maybe, I don't know, concerned more about other things, and I wasn't as focused on my athletics. So I have a niece. Actually, this is kind of fun. I won't say her name, but I have a niece. Therefore, she's a girl. I have a girl niece who is 12 or 13. I can't remember. She's right in between my two kids. So she's 12 or 13. And since she was a little girl, she's always said that she wanted to play football. And that's just something she's wanted to do. And she played touch football. No, she played flag football first. So she played flag football for the last couple of years. And this year is the first time that she had an opportunity to try out for a tackle football, so like normal football. And the school she goes to, she lives in Texas. Okay, so this explains this part of the story, because the rest of you are gonna be like, our junior high football team has one team. Well, this is like a Texas-sized school. And you know what they say about Texas? Babies can live there. No, they do say that too. But everything is bigger in Texas. So including the football teams, okay? So there's team A, team B, and team C. So at tryouts, they're there. And I'm sure there were some guys snickering. I didn't hear them, but I'm sure there were. It's like, oh my goodness, who's this chick with this long blonde hair who's going to play football? And then they started training and practicing, and she whooped their butts. So not only did Paisley make the team, I was not going to say her name. Oh, well, sorry. If you're in Texas and you have a beautiful girl with long blonde hair, you probably already know her name. She's my niece, and I'm very proud of her. But she not only made the team, but of the A, B, and C team, she's the only girl that made any of them. She's on the A team, and she's starter. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And their very first football game, she scored the last touchdown, which I want to fly to Texas just to watch her play. I am nervous that as the boys grow, that she may get hurt, but I've talked to my sister about it, and her mom and dad are aware of that. And we're like, okay, right now she is the same size as the guys on the field. Most of the guys, there's always that one guy. They're like, holy cow, are you really in 7th grade? Like, he looks like he's a senior in high school. Like, what, has he been fed steroids from the time he was a baby? No? Okay. You're just really that big. But most of the guys that are playing with her are her size. But it's like, if you want something, you work hard for it. And she's done that. And now she's playing, and she's really good. I don't know. So if you want something, if you want to do something, work really hard, and then you can do it. That's kind of the all-American dream, okay? That's why so many people have traveled to our country, sometimes hanging on to a piece of driftwood, okay, for miles and miles and miles, almost dying, or oftentimes dying in the ocean trying to get here. But sometimes they make it here, and that's their dream, and they can live free, and they're very happy. That was my priest story. My priest used to tell this story of how he came to America. His whole family was on the ship. It was like a rowboat type ship. It broke in the ocean. He literally was on like a plank holding on. He was a small boy, made it to America. Now he's a priest, and he loves it. And he's very happy to be here. And I think that we're being told that we live in a horrible country, and that if you have white skin, or if you think that our country is a good country, you're racist or sexist. And I don't understand that. I'm like, nope, that's not true, actually. We do live in a really good country. I hope that we don't ruin it. We need to stop doing foolish things to ruin our country. We need to not be paying people more to sit at home on their couch and collect money than those going out and getting a job. Like, I'm really, like, even my kids are like, I'm sick of seeing these hiring signs. Why is everyone hiring? I'm like, because unfortunately, people aren't going back to work, because it's easier to not work and get money. But you know what? That's not how it works. We need to do work to earn money. I'm not saying someone that's like legit disabled, like gone to war, had an explosion, doesn't have legs. I'm not saying he needs to go and stand up and direct traffic. Like, actually, they make these really cool prosthetic legs now. He probably could. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying like people that really are disabled, or if you just had a baby, yes, there's a time where you should stay home with your child. If you choose to stay at home longer, fine. I'm all about that, having these times where it's like, okay, right now I can't work, but I plan on going back to work. But I think we have lots of people that are capable of working that are not doing it, because it's easier to stay home and binge flick. I think I made up a new word. Binge on Netflix or YouTube and watch videos all day and not really work. So that's just my 2 cents. That's what I know. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, I'm reading this. Yes. Okay, so Sarah's saying that she has a cleaning business and she doesn't have enough workers to take care of her clients. Yeah, and that's really hard. Sarah, you're not alone. I have guys working at my house right now that he's made sure. So he's taken really good care of his employees, and they're all great. They're really good men that are working hard, getting jobs done. And he made sure even when they weren't able to work, that they were getting paid, that they had some type of income. he took care of his employees. And there's other people that are just getting whoever to come in, and it's like, okay, that's fine. I won't put it on the books so you can still collect your unemployment because I need to get this job done. And it's like, I see that guy's in a hard position, but like, we need people that are going to be honest, that are going to tell the truth, bare minimum, not lie. Okay. So we need to say, yes, I'm going to work. I'm going to get this job. And if we say that we're going to work, we have to go to work. I say this and my son has allergies, and that is super fair, but he'll be like, I don't think I can go to work because my allergies are really bothering me. I'm like, nope, you said you're going to go to work. He does like lawn care at a friend's house. So it's not like, but it's like, you got to go. And he's had days that he's gone, and he calls me an hour later and it's like, Mom, I'm sneezing. My eyes are watering. The woman that's in charge said that I should probably go home. I'm like, that's okay. I'll come pick you up. You can come home. That's fine. But you said that you would be there. So you go there. And then if you're not capable of finishing the job, that's okay. But he only got paid for that 1 hour he was there instead of the 5 hours that he was supposed to be there. Right. And we need to do that. We need people with good work ethics and people that work hard. And I don't know. I was taught that like growing up. It's funny. I have 3 sisters, and we would babysit all the time when we were little. And I think people would often call our house because we had multiple babysitters. So if one of us was busy, someone else would. But my mom taught us, you leave that house looking better than when you got there. So we would babysit the kids. And my mom said, once you get the kids to bed, the first thing you're to do is do a quick tidy of the house. If you fed the kids dinner, do the dishes, wash it, clean it up. And that mom's going to hire you over and over and over again. And she was right. We were very popular babysitters, and we got paid pretty well. But it's because we worked hard, right? And yeah, so I think we all just need to do that. So anyhow, God bless. I ranted for a little longer than I was planning. I hope you're doing well. I want to be able to do this in my house, and I want to be able to do it sitting down with other people. So it was really fun last week to have Jackie Francois Angel with her head over here beside me. I don't know what side it was, but I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start doing Skype interviews like every other week so you can meet some amazing, beautiful, awesome women. But I want to do it in my house. And just this camera that I'm talking into right now, I think is $3,000. So I know what you're thinking. It shows every single grade. Do you really need a camera that good? Well, yes, because I want you to have the best quality. And yes, I do have a lot of gray hairs, and that's okay because I'm getting older, and that's just part of life. But I want to be able to do it. So I need to get more Patreon members. So those of you that are supporting the podcast, thank you so much. You can you can click the link below, amongthelilies.com/Patreon, or the other way around. I forget. Click the link below, like, share, subscribe. You people are my main means of getting this podcast to other people. If you have people that you want me to interview, requests to have other people on, let me know. I will do my best to get them on, and we'll be across from each other for a little bit, but hopefully face to face really soon. So thank you so much. I hope you're all having a wonderful, beautiful day. God bless those of you that are American. Let's keep our chins up. Rest of the world, please don't lose your hope in us, because we do have lots of competent people here. We're going to try to make this right. All right. God bless. Bye-bye. The mouse was too far away. I couldn't reach it.